Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I certainly want to thank Ranking Member Granger for joining me in introducing this important amendment. This amendment will prevent the Nuclear Regulatory Commission from unilaterally, and I emphasize unilaterally, creating a new nuclear waste consolidated interim storage facilities. And I'm talking about Texas and New Mexico. The NRC is walking through the process of approving an application to store high-level nuclear waste in Texas and New Mexico. Both sites are in the heart of the Permian Basin. If approved, the application would send nuclear waste to these sites despite opposition from both states in contradiction to federal law. The governor of New Mexico is a former colleague of ours, Michelle Lujan. The governor from Texas is a Republican, Greg Abbott, and they're both, along with the delegations, Democrats and Republicans, are against this particular site. Just yesterday, the host county of the proposed site, Andrews County, voted to oppose this construction of this high-level waste storage site that the NRC is racing to license. Madam Chair, Capture, I'm certain that you can appreciate the problem of corrosion when it comes to nuclear safety and public health. You do remember the Davis-Besse nuclear power plant in your own district that almost had a complete core meltdown. That happened because 12 inches of carbon steel on top of the nuclear had dissolved, and it had been for a lot of luck and a tiny sliver of stainless steel, that nuclear power plant would have had a full core meltdown. Again, we're talking about safety, and we're asking that the NRC should not act without consent. At the national level facility, tribal and state governments are afforded the right to approve or reject. Again, under the law, they are afforded the right to approve or reject the proposed SNF storage facilities under the NWPA. The NRC is moving forward with the licensing of these facilities that will again store the nuclear waste. And again, I emphasize, despite the opposition of both host states. I also, in closing, would say also that in talking to my friend, my colleague from Nevada, her language about having a consent-based approach in undertaking this type of activities is key. And again, the key word is consent. The key word is approval. And if the state government and the local governments and the delegations, both Democratic and Republicans in Texas and New Mexico oppose, I believe that the federal agency should listen to that. I look forward working with the chairwoman, Ms. Capture. She has been very accommodating. Her staff has worked with us. I want to say I really, really appreciate that. And with that, I reserve a point of order and yield back.
Ms. Capture?
You reserve, sorry.
Ms. Capture?
2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank Chairwoman DeLauro and her staff for yielding to me, but also for working on this 7 bills, along with the Ranking Member Kay Ranger. Even though we do have some differences, I know we'll get together toward the end of the year. With that, I also stand in opposition to the en bloc amendments also. But I also stand in opposition to the recent Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC, conduct which runs counter to federal law. The NRC is fighting massive opposition from elected officials, including 2 governors, a Democratic governor from New Mexico, a Republican governor from Texas, and the public against the licensing of the nuclear fuel storage facility in Texas and in New Mexico. That's why I offered and withdrew my amendment in the committee markup so we can work and continue working as this bill moves forward. The NRC not only lacks the consent, but is acting unilaterally despite clear opposition in a bipartisan way. The law is very clear. Section 42 U.S.C. 10155 says that they have to, the governor can disapprove, and again, both governors have disapproved. Section 42 U.S. Code, Section 10166, notice of disapproval, also talks about when the governor gives the disapproval. Again, the Republican governor, the Democratic governor from Texas and from New Mexico have done that. The law is clear. they have to follow the law, and we must clarify that NRC can only license a DOE monitor retrievable storage facility once consent has been given by the state and the local community. I want to thank Chairwoman Capter for expressing her willingness to work with myself and Ranking Member Kay Ranger on this particular issue that's so important to us. I'm confident that the final version of this legislation will have a more clearly establish the NRC consent-based licensing approval standard. And with that, I yield back the balance of time, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Congressman Cuellar, thank you for your time. My name is Sandra Underwood Franks. I'm a long-term resident of Andrews, Texas, and I'm extremely appreciative of your words on our behalf to the other members of Congress. We do not consent to the storage of high-level nuclear waste here, and we appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Henry Cuellar, for protecting Texas against high-level nuclear waste.